Welcome to In Our Own Defense Podcast. We're your host, Attorney A.D. Winters, founder and managing attorney of veteransdefender.com, and Dr. Dolores Tarver, licensed psychologist. For more information about our show, go to In Our Own Defense on Facebook, Instagram, and even our new YouTube channel. Make sure you click that subscribe button, or you can email us at inourown.defense@gmail.com. Generally, we go through and we tell you all about disclaimers, but we have a four-part series that we're doing very special right now for In Our Own Defense Podcast. We have the extremely talented and dynamic attorney, Trey Baker. He's the director of African American engagement for the Biden-Harris 2020 presidential campaign. He's been working with us to discuss the empowerment, employment, and economics in the 2020 election at large. He's graced us by coming on our show a couple of times. He's coming back on the show this episode today, where we're going to have him to come and talk to Dr. Tarver. Now we've been hitting him with some hard-hitting questions, and we talked about from an employment standpoint, or from an empowerment standpoint. We talked about women's rights, and with the unfortunate loss of Associate Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And what are some of the strives that we're going to do to show equality and manifest equality for women? Well, it's equal pay, women being heard, women being seen. What is the LGBTQI community to ensure that gains that they've made in that community are strengthened and structured? What are we going to do about African Americans, making sure that Black lives really matter? What are we going to do economically to empower African Americans? We talked about employment and how it impacts this reemployment has been impacted African Americans. The unemployment hit African Americans harder. The reemployment has hit us just as bad. But he talked about a holistic approach to employment. Dr. Tarver, he spoke to us about, for all Americans, how we can get us all back. And then he talked about from an economic, he talked about that impact about the reemployment. But the first thing that we needed to do was solve the first things first, this pandemic crisis. Before we can go into employment broad scale, some of these grand scale things that he's saying with the Lyndon Johnson and FDR kind of type plans, he wants us to get well. So that's really important. And he showed us that there is a plan. He differentiated between his campaign and current administration. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to bring him back. So how have you been, Dr. Tarver?
I have been awesome, Sauce Attorney Winters. Thanks for asking. Always a pleasure to see you.
Same here. But what have you been noticing since the last time we talked and met with Attorney Baker? What have you been noticing in your practice, or just in America? What have you been noticing?
Well, of course, as we have focused on this particular series with Attorney Baker, I feel like whatever I'm doing outside of the office frequently mirrors what's going on in the office, and people are talking about finances. Finances is a huge struggle for people. Student loan debt. I have several clients who are struggling now with trying to figure out how to pay for school, that it is getting more difficult for people to secure loans to be able to pay for their education. It is getting more difficult for people to secure loans for just about everything, for that matter. My business owners are struggling, trying to just be able to make salaries for their employees. Some of them have had to let go of people, which causes people a lot of distress. Nobody wants to, in these difficult economic times, have to let people go, not knowing whether or not they'll be able to bring people back. So that's a huge thing. This concern about getting the coronavirus again, because several of my clients have tested positive for it. So that's a huge concern for people. And then, of course, a lot of them picked it up by going back to work. So their concern is, you want me to go back to work after I just tested positive? So those are definitely a lot of the issues that I'm seeing in my practice.
And that's telling. And I think that puts it puts a formidable challenge to the economy. Like, so if we got workers afraid to go to work, but I think in the last episode, where we had Attorney Baker on, he talked to us about first things first. Let's solve the public health crisis, and then let's come back. You know, he talked about Vice President Biden and Senator Harris having a monumental plan based on manufacturing and infrastructure that's going to get us all back, get America back working. So I'm really excited about the jobs plan that they have. But that leads us into this episode. I want to introduce quickly our guest to bring him back. The people know him. This is his third time coming on in our Own Defense podcast. So without further ado, we have the Director of African American Engagement for Biden-Harris 2020, JoeBiden.com, Attorney Trey Baker. He is a self-proclaimed Mississippian, Grenadian, Tougalooan, and bow tie aficionado. He is a graduate of Tougaloo College, and he earned his Juris Doctorate from the University of Denver Law. And so help me welcome him back to the show. Welcome back to the show, Attorney.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here. I appreciate the warm welcome as usual, and from my hometown folks. Couldn't have a better crowd.
So thank you so much. You know, to our listeners, getting a chance here to see you again, to bring somebody straight from the campaign to discuss this with us is more important than Dr. Tarver listening to me espouse about my political thoughts. It's better to have somebody to come here and tell us to cut to the brass tacks. You know, there's a lot of challenges. We've talked about empowerment issues where we're really concerned this administration has stripped away a lot of the empowerment. We've discussed that we are gravely concerned about this employment, and as you articulated, the lack thereof of a jobs plan. We're extremely concerned about the economy, and that's what we asked you to come on this show, this particular episode, to talk to us about. We want to talk about the economy. And Dr. Tarver articulated before we brought you in is she's been noticing that there are some strong concerns about everybody from an economic standpoint. So I'll let her start with the. I'll start with this first question: is what are we doing to ensure a systemic motivation to achieve economic businesses after this suffering? I think the last episode you talked about us, a lot of businesses are closing, mom and pops. My favorite hamburger of my entire 45 years on earth came from a mom and pop restaurant in Grenada, Mississippi called the Burger Hut, the best burger ever. The Willis's had it on Union Street, greatest burger ever known to man. And those are the kind of businesses that you said are starting to close. The Watson grocery store, the Palazzolas, all of those small businesses are starting to close and throughout the country. And what do we do to ensure that infrastructure is put in? Not just are we going to have roads and all that, but what kind of infrastructure are you all going to put in to make sure that these businesses succeed in the new economy that you're going to build? I know we talked about strong leadership in the SBA, all of that, but what are some of the plans that you guys have in place for the Build Back Better?
So one thing I will talk about in particular is opportunity zones. So many of those places that you named out, I just happen to know that they're within some of those opportunity zones. And so what the opportunity zones do, or what they're supposed to do, is they're supposed to offer a way for developers to be able to go into traditionally low-income places and be able to develop them out so that you raise property, the value of properties. You are able to provide for that community to have, whether it's sidewalks or nicer places to live, apartment complexes and all that, which sounds great, which sounds wonderful. But what it becomes is a tax credit for rich developers who are going to go in and gentrify communities. And that's all we've seen from the Opportunity Zones program. So what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to do with that program is they essentially want to fix it. And in fixing it, they want to apply a community development really I guess a community development chaser to it, if you want to call it that. But it's essentially making sure that these developers who get the tax credit associated with opportunity zones will have to partner with a legitimate community development corporation of some kind whose goal is the betterment of the community through some sort of public service that they are providing. And what they believe that this will do is it'll keep these developers honest. And by tying them to something that has goals and metrics that are outside of just making money, then it'll actually be something that's community focused. So that's one of the first things. Additionally, and I talked about this a little bit when we first got into it, but having community development financial institutions to be able to receive about $150 billion in additional funding. So places like the Hope Credit Union. We've all heard about the Hope Credit Union and how they're able to extend capital to people who otherwise may not be able to get it. And by being able to put that much capital into the system, we're going to be able to lift generations of people who want to start businesses and grow their businesses out. Something else that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris do through their economic equity portion of their Build Back Better plan through those policies is something that really hits home with me, which is taking care of Black farmers. And Black farmers and rural communities are so important to what we do in America, whether it's the food that we eat, the groceries that we buy, and the prices associated with them before they make it to the table, or really just making sure that there's an economy with Black farmers. Right now, a lot of people don't know there are only 29,000 Black farmers left in the whole country. That's it. Of all the agricultural communities, all of these folks out here making money from farm subsidies and different things, Black farmers are only a small number. And if we don't do something to help them, then they're basically going to go extinct because they can't keep up. And so what the Joe Biden plan will do for Black farmers is be able to provide them with access to capital so that they can get these loans, to get this equipment, to get this feed or this seed that they need. Additionally, help with debt relief. So many Black farmers went into tremendous debt over the past years as a result of people taking away their heirs' property. And so Joe Biden wants to protect that heirs' property. This was as simple as, you got rural individuals who don't have the know-how. They don't have an attorney Winters to represent them necessarily in their communities, and somebody comes up and offers them, a couple $100 for this and that, and all of a sudden you've lost thousands of acres of land. And so wanting to protect heirs' property, but also wanting to provide that debt relief for folks. You've got people under tremendous stress right now. And there were a group of cases called the Pickford cases that were supposed to help these sort of historic cases of debt relief, and was supposed to provide all this relief over the past 40 years. Those cases, those settlements didn't come in and do what they were supposed to do. People didn't receive that money. And so Joe Biden's going to go in and make sure that we protect those folks by giving them some access to capital. And so from big cities to small towns, Joe Biden is concerned and has a willingness to go out and make sure all of our economies work and all of America works. Because when you just start talking about metropolitan areas and the suburbs, and you leave out the majority of this country, which is rural, then you're missing the mark.
I think that's spot on. Dr. Tarver?
Well, Attorney Winters knows that there is a special place in my heart when we talk about economics, which is student loan debt. And a lot of people, and you've seen the meme before, where I've been paying on my student loans for over 10 years, and I now owe more than I did when I first started paying on them. And for a lot of people, not being able to get from under that student loan debt is prohibiting them from being able to move forward with their other financial wellness goals, because it's a money pit to them. They just keep throwing money at it, and it never seems to end. And so now they've got other debt because they're trying to stay on top of the student loan debt. So can we talk a little bit about Biden and Harris's plan for managing this student loan debt that is crushing a lot of people?
Yeah, I think one thing that we have to see is that this student loan debt is the next bubble. You had the housing bubble that created the recession in 2008, and if we don't do anything about it, this student loan bubble will be the next thing. We've got this current generation of, I guess it was the last of Generation X, the first of the millennials, people who are in their early 30s to probably early 40s, is probably the most educated generation of folks that we have. However, they're also the most people who are still reliant on their parents for income and for housing. And so you have people who have terminal degrees, have jobs that do this and that, or careers that are supposed to do this and that, but because they have such back-breaking debt, they aren't able to participate in the American dream and be able to buy a house, for instance. And so this is going to be the first generation of people who didn't do better economically than the generation that preceded them. So, your parents won't, we all come from Grenada. We know about, coming from good stock. Parents only want their children to do better than they did. That's the goal. Just do better, have more than I did, and I would have done a good job. But so many people in this generation don't have that that benefit. And so, and most of it is tied to student loan debt. And so what Joe Biden is going to do, along with Kamala Harris, is make school affordable for people to go to. And so you start right with community colleges. For community colleges, they will be free, period. Public community colleges will, they'll be free. And that's all I got to say about that. Going forward to 4-year education, if you are in a household that makes under $125,000 a year, your student loan debt can be forgiven in its entirety if you go to either a public institution or a public or private HBCU or minority serving institution. And so what the impact of this will be that, it's kind of like, y'all are both athletes, and you know what it means when you like wear one of the heavy vests or the ankle weights, or right now you got a generation of people with student debt who walk around with ankle weights their whole life, and then as soon as that debt is relieved from those people, they're going to be able to thrive. All that money that they're paying, that I've got friends that, doctors, lawyers, other folks, paying thousands of dollars a month to be able to just pay their student loan debt. And I mean, not, well, no, I'm not gonna say that on the record, but I was about to say, like I don't know, I'll say it this way: the folks who came before us, these great lawyers, these great doctors, these great individuals, they went to and got the same education that we did. Like for lawyers, contracts is contracts, no matter where you go. Constitutional law is constitutional law. Torts is torts, no matter what you do. And so what's making it so different now? What extra are we learning that all of a sudden it's worth $350,000 just to learn it? And I just don't think it's much different. And so we have to get that under control, because as soon as, back to the reference about the ankle weights, as soon as you take this debt off of people, they're not just going to hoard it. Some people will just save that money up, but most of that money is going right back into our economy. It's going into people being able to buy houses. It's going to people buying cars. It's going to people putting their kids in this and that kind of nursery school. It's going to pay people to cut grass, or like it's just it's immediately going to help build our economy back just by doing that. I think once student loans start getting forgiven in a lot of cases, that will be the moment. I would love to see how that impacts, our economic model. And, I'm no economist, but I feel like it'll be an immediate spike.
No, I think you're spot on. If we as a country do what we did under the Obama administration for veterans who are 100% disabled, they get their student loans wiped clean, and there are other parts of the economy that get that does it creates an incredible impact where they can then go use that to invest in their businesses. They can use that to grow their family, buy land, become farmers. And I think it's telling that in this episode, as we talked about something as important as economics, we left our people with something that they can take away. The black farmers, black farmers, 29,000. And that really has been a growing downward trajectory for decades now. I remember when they had the black farmer suit, where, back in the old day when we thought the world was really divisive, Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich got together and extended a lawsuit to waive some of the requirements. He got as the Speaker of the House, they worked together to waive some of the requirements to allow these black farmers to go forward with the suit. A lot of these agricultural commissioners were not giving these subsidies to these minorities, and that's how they lost it. They lost it through that, and they lost it through heirship property. And like you said, not having access to an attorney to step in and say, or having unscrupulous people working in these county tax assessor's office who are writing away their property, literally just pencil whipping their property away, changing the line. Just terrifying. We watched it happen currently in Grenada with some of my family property. But we're so lucky to have somebody like you, Trey, to come on this show, a third episode, and communicate with us and explain to our people, our listeners, what are these issues economically. They are deeply rooted in this overarching ankle weight vest debt of a student loan, potentially keeping these people out of the economic American dream. And secondarily, we have to start our economy where it really counts. Agroeconomics is business. That is the bottom line. If people can't get food, then we don't have an economy. So those are great points that you've led us with today. We really appreciate you coming on for this third episode. We ask that you come back and tell us more about the actual election from census in the future. Come and talk to us about it. Come and talk to us about what we could do to help on this campaign. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Dr. Tarver. We've been discussing empowerment, employment, economics in the 2020 election with attorney Trey Baker. He's the Director of African American Engagement for the Biden-Harris 2020 campaign. This is In Our Own Defense, and we are your hosts, Attorney A.D. Winters and Dr. Dolores Tarver. For more information about our podcast, just go to our social media, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, or just email us at inourown.defense@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. And Attorney Baker, make sure you come back for one more episode with us. All right.